Why do we have to do this now? Can't we wait until after you cure me?
Nope, this is just too good not to be put on film.
Fuck you! Anyway, do you ever wonder if Twilight should really be Spike's guardian?
I haven't put much thought to it. Why do you ask?
Well, it's just that half the time when we see Spike, if he even appears, Spike is either getting injured or being ignored.
Can I point out that I'm the only one who actually interacts with ponies in Ponyville, since your various idiotic blunders have turned every pony against you? So the amount of time you can observe his interaction with other ponies is extremely limited. Therefore you can't have witnessed the entirety of his relationship with Twilight.
That still doesn't excuse the amount of abuse he receives from Twilight. I mean, when we're first introduced to Spike in the pilot episode, we see Twilight open a door in such a way that Spike goes flying. Any normal pony would open the door carefully, or check on any pony they accidentally hit. Not to mention when Spike pulls Moondancer's present off his tail, Twilight just dismisses it when Spike clearly put some effort into acquiring it.
Okay, it is true that Twilight did ignore the effect her actions were having on Spike, but we later learn that when she focuses on a certain topic, she often loses her grasp on what goes on around her, resulting in her obliviousness to Spike. In later episodes, we see that she's rather a thoughtful and caring pony, particularly towards Spike, so I would hardly call her abusive. If Twilight is being abusive, it's because the writers allow her to be so.
Particularly in Season 4. But even in the other seasons, Spike gets put in dangerous situations, such as in Fall Weather Friends, when he ends up being bucked about and even kicked into a tree just because Rainbow Dash and AJ need to harm a baby dragon to see who the more athletic pony is. And let's see how many ponies rush over to him to see if he's alright. 0. All of 0 ponies. Not to mention what Twilight did in Owl's Well That Ends Well.
First off, best pony is blameless. And secondly, in Owl's Well That Ends Well, Twilight is reacting to Spike in a completely understandable manner after what he did to the book. So really, everything that happened to Spike was his own fault. So we can't really blame Twilight for acting the way she did.
But she overreacted when Aloysius found the book that Spike accidentally scorched. She should have at least apologized for that after they escaped from the dragon. Not to mention that the way she acted throughout the entire episode led Spike to believe that Twilight no longer loved him. After all, Spike reacted the same way any child would to the introduction of a new family member.
She probably apologized for her overreaction off camera. And as for the part where Spike feels that Twilight doesn't love him, that's just an unfortunate case of miscommunication.
Miscommunication that is the result of Spike's mother figure not paying attention to him, something that no pony in her position should do. Add to that the episode's time frame of about 3 days, and Twilight has ample time to realize that she isn't paying enough attention to Spike.
Not for someone like Twilight. Her actions are something I can relate to. I have been known to become completely absorbed or obsessive with something for weeks before forgetting about it. In that time frame, non-essential things, or at least what I would call non-essential things, like interpersonal relationships, just become obsolete and ignored.
That's not something a parental figure can allow themselves to do. It's still neglect.
At this point, Spike would be able to look after himself for short periods of time, particularly if this is a common occurrence, which it is shown to be. So really, he would be used to this. The only variable that has changed is the introduction of Owlicious.
Fine. Then what about Spike at your service, or just for sidekicks? Twilight just lets Spike enslave himself to Applejack, and later she lets him look after every pony's pets without realizing he's getting in over his head. Any pony would know that one baby dragon isn't enough to look after a dog, a cat, a rabbit, an owl, an alligator, and a flying tortoise.
In Spike at Your Service, Twilight is once again absorbed in her studies, so her behaviour is kind of to be expected, and she does realise what Spike said and reacts, if a little late, with just for sidekicks, Twilight was probably letting Spike handle the pets as a sign of her trusting him with more responsibility.
Okay, so far you've just said that Twilight was just being Twilight whenever Spike was abused, but that doesn't change the fact that Spike is neglected, mistreated, and beaten on just for laughs.
If that's your angle, then you should be directing all of this at the writers, not at Twilight.
She is still negligent and unsuited to raise a baby dragon, with part of the problem being her age.
I actually have to step in here, because recently I've gotten the feeling that Spike isn't so much a baby dragon as just a young dragon. He is rather capable, and while he does have his childish moments, he also has his mature moments and supportive moments, such as Lesson Zero and the Crystal Empire, and, dare I mention it, Equestria Girls, for what a train wreck that first movie was.
Just because he can be mature doesn't mean that his brain isn't wired like a 5 or 7-year-old colt's, and as such he should receive the same attention. Although I have to ask, which writer abuses Spike the most?
Megan McCarthy.
Really? I would have thought it would have been Dave Polsky.
He was a close second, before we counted the movies.
Has anyone not abused Spike?
Yeah, these dudes.
Just guys, huh? What does it say about all the women who write for the show?
Anyway, let's wrap this up. As we can't seem to agree on the theory, how about you viewers leave your thoughts below in the comments section?
You know...
No!
I was just going to suggest that we analyse another pony's abuse from the writers, and that the viewers should pick which pony.
A good idea from a featherbrain like you? What is this world coming to?
Do you have something against Pegasi?
No. I was merely stating that unicorns are the...
Shut up and cure me already!